Alright, folks.
Hey, y'all.
As promised, we are here with our Random Card Deck Tech Volume number 4. We are working today with the Tomb Robber.
Tomb Robber!
Tomb Robber, if you don't know already, is a 3-drop, 1/1 with Menace. You can pay 1 colorless, or any color, discard a card, and he explores. So, obviously we started out thinking about how we could build around those abilities, because you've got the discard, you've also got the explore. Those are 2 abilities that in standard right now have multiple other cards that you can use to support those. So, I'm going to start out, get into the creatures here. No need to waste time, I don't think. So we'll get back to Tomb Robber here in a second. Start out with 3 copies of Winding Constrictor.
No, not Winding Constrictor, bro.
He's my favorite.
Oh my god, not again.
He's my favorite. So, he's going to support a lot of these creatures once you start doing the explore mechanic and some of the other stuff as we look at it here. And if you don't know, which I'm sure you do, if 1 or more counters would be placed on an artifact or creature you control, you get an extra one. And if you would get a counter, you get an extra one too. So you'll see how the counters will add up as we
yes.
get into some of these other creatures. Our next 2-drop, we are running 4 copies of the Wildgrowth Walker. Whenever a creature you control explores, he gets a +1/+1 counter, and you gain 3 life. So,
Counters.
if you go back, I'll post a link at the end of this video to our lunch magic game from today, and you'll get to see what happens when you have 3 Wildgrowth Walkers on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
That's hard to overcome. So he works really well with some of this other stuff we're going to get into, that when another creature explores, he benefits from it in a big way, because he can get really big really fast. It doesn't matter what you flip over when you explore, he's still going to get a counter. All your creature has to do is explore. So we got 4 copies of those. Now we're moving into our 3-drops. Obviously, the namesake for the deck, Tomb Robber. We already went over it. We're running 4 copies. And again, you'll see in some of these other cards how that discard and explore mechanic is going to work together. Our next 3-drop is going to correlate directly there with the Tomb Robber. We got 4 copies of a card that we've used in another one of our random decks. I don't know if we just like it or if that's just how the cards have fallen. But,
Well, it seems to work out.
Ramunap Excavator. You can play lands from your graveyard. So the way that I found this works the best is you use your Tomb Robber to explore after discarding a land, and then your Excavator, you can play that land back from the graveyard. So it's, as long as you've got an Excavator on the battlefield, then it doesn't hurt you so much to be throwing lands in the graveyard, because you can get them back. And that's another, like I said, way that all the mechanics of the cards are kind of working together to help each other out. We had, I don't know if I said, 4 copies of that. Our next one is another 4 of, and this card and one of our lands could be replaced to make this a budget deck. Right now, if you run it the way we've got it set up, it's going to be right at or just above $100. If you take out the Jadelight Ranger and put in one of the other, when it enters the battlefield, it explores creatures, you're going to drop the price down significantly. These are running right at $10 a piece, and the Blooming Marsh, which we'll get to later, is running, around $6 a piece. So if you take those 2 out and replace them with others, you can get this to much more of a manageable budget deck.
Right.
Jadelight Ranger, when it enters the battlefield, it explores, and then it explores again. So if you've got the Wildgrowth Walker, and or the Winding Constrictor, and or another creature we're going to get to next, there's a lot of benefit to that extra exploring. because you're going to get more counters on the Ranger, obviously, with the Winding Constrictor. You're going to get
More life.
extra benefit from the Wild Growth Walker. So it really worked well with what we got going on. Jadelight Ranger.
Good card.
Like I said, that can be replaced with another less expensive card if you're trying to make this more budget. 4 copies of Lurking Chupacabra in the 4-drop slot. Whenever a creature you control explores, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn. This is we don't have any removal spells in this deck. The removal is kind of built into some of these abilities, like this one. It's a really good one. Nice thing about that is the -2/-2 and the -1/-1 on a couple of these other cards. They can take out your indestructibles. They can get rid of things that a lot of your just normal destroy target creature or do damage to a creature they can't do.
Right.
So Lurking Chupacabra will help you clear out the board pretty quick once you really start getting into these explore mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, don't get a counter for it, obviously, but just the simple fact with the Jadelight Ranger, that's -4/-4 on target creature because it explored twice.
Yeah, that'll take out
About
Hazoret,
anything,
that'll
yeah.
take out a lot of Glorybringer. It'll take
Yeah.
out a lot of the bigger threats.
Stuff that sucks.
So, next, this one we're only running 3 copies of this one. Archfiend of Ifnir at the 5-drop slot. It's a flying 5/4, and whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. So,
That's a counter. That counts as 2.
no. The
Is that only for you?
Winding Constrictor is only for you.
I thought it was everything. That'd been awesome.
No.
For some reason, I thought it was everything.
But still, -1/-1 on all your opponent's creatures can do a lot of work, especially when you, like I said, multiple explores per turn can really cut down what your opponents have. And that's going to, obviously, with this deck, correlate directly with the Tomb Robber. That's where you're going to get all your discards from. And I've easily, like you'll see in the video if you go watch our Lunch Magic from today, you can easily 2 or 3 times a turn discard a card with the Tomb Robber to explore, and that just will absolutely cut the top off of your opponent's creatures. It's good. I mean, you guys know if you've watched our videos how much I hate pirates with a passion. You explore twice and you kill almost all the pirates because they're stupid and only have 2 defense. And those are counters that stay on. It's not until end of turn. So I like it. It works well. All right, that's our creature base. How many was that, Edwards? Did we count?
No, I didn't know you needed me to.
I didn't. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26.
Woo!
26 creatures. A little heavy on the creatures, but that's okay because they all work well together. Now we'll get into our spells. Like I said, we don't have any removal, but we're going to assume that our opponents do. So we're going to run 4 copies of Blossoming Defense. Gives your creatures gives target creature you control +2/+2 and hexproof until end of turn. So it's a good way to make it so that they're not able to get rid of your big threats once they get rolling. And it's cheap.
Cheap.
Next one, 3-drop, black and green and one other.
Journey to Eternity.
Journey to Eternity. Slap that on one of your creatures. Especially good one is going to be the Jadelight Ranger, because if you put this on it and it dies, then it comes back into the battlefield and you get to explore twice more. So that's good. And then if you've gotten into a situation where you've been discarding creatures for whatever reason,
why would you do that?
It flips over and you can start pulling those creatures back from your graveyard. It's kind of expensive, 5 cost to return one, but once you see how the deck plays out and you can really start playing some extra lands, we'll get to that in a minute, and from the graveyard, things like that, you'll be able to get that mana and still have some extra to explore if you need to, or whatever the case may be. So that's a good way to protect your creatures and get some added benefit if they do die. Next, we're going to run 2 copies of whatever the hell that says.
Garapur Orrery.
It says Girapurari. I don't know what that says, but what it does is it makes it so that each player can play an additional land every turn, and then at the beginning of each player's turn, if they have no cards in hand, you draw 3. So
It's designed to benefit you for this deck, but it can benefit your opponents too, so you gotta be careful.
since you're able to discard cards at will, pretty much, only paying 1 at a time, it's relatively easy to dump your hand and benefit from this. If you happen to get both of them out, you're going to draw 7 cards at the beginning of your turn if
Did
you
that
have nothing
happen
in
earlier?
hand. So if you've just got 1 out, you draw 4 cards because you draw 3 at the beginning of your upkeep and then you draw on your regular draw step. So it's just a little extra help, you know. And when you've been discarding lands into your graveyard, this will make it so that if you get the excavator out there, you can play 2 of those back from your graveyard onto the battlefield. What else? I don't know. It's a good card.
That's pretty much it. Yeah,
I only ran 2 copies. You maybe could drop a creature or 2 and up that to 3 or 4. I probably wouldn't go 4, but you might drop something out of there and go to 3, just to increase your chance of getting it. So that's our creatures, that's our spells. Now we're going to run through our
land cards.
land base. We'll just start simple here with the basics. We got 6 swamps. 6, look at my fancy full art swamps. Aren't they pretty? Not that one, that one's ugly. Look at that one. Yeah, 6 swamps.
Swamps.
And we got 6 forests. Full art forests too. You like those, Mr. Potato Pants?
I do.
Full art forests are not required for the deck. You can use any forest.
They're just awesome.
6 of each, swamps and forests. Okay.
Use some unstable ones. They're pretty too.
Non-basic lands. You got your Foul Orchard, which is the cheap one from Rivals of Ixalan. Enters the battlefield tap. You can get a black or green. Those are like 53 cents. So go buy them. Have your mom take you to the game store and pick up 4 copies of the Foul Orchard because it's cheap. Now, this is the one I was saying earlier. You can switch out because they're more expensive. They're $5 or $6 a piece. So some people don't want to go out and spend, you know, 20 or 24 bucks to get a playset of Blooming Marsh. But if you've got the money or you've got them in your collection already, they're a good card, especially at the beginning of the game. When you really want to start trying to get things out there quickly, that can help you out a lot, having those dual lands that come in untapped.
Yes.
And last but not least, we've got 3 copies of Ifnir Deadlands. That one is taps for a colorless. You can pay a life and get a black out of it, and you can pay 4, tap it, sack a desert, and sling out some two -1/-1 counters. You could, when I was talking about switching out your Blooming Marsh, you could go with the green version of this, which is
Hepshif. Is that what it is?
Haship Oasis.
Hepshif Oasis.
Thank you. And that Haship Oasis, I think you pay 3 or 4. I can't remember what it is. And pump one of your creatures +3/+3. So that's another option that you could put in there instead of the Blooming Marsh. Maybe put in 4 of those,
If you
or
like need to, yeah.
a couple of those and a couple swamps. Because the deck is a little black heavy, so that's why we've got the 4 extra black mana sources here with the Ifnir Deadlands. So that is the deck. We tested it this week, and I really like the way it plays. There's some bad matchups for it probably, but that's where we're going to get into the sideboard. I'm going to put these on the screen for the most part, but this one I would probably run 2 or 3 of the Deadeye trackers in the sideboard, just so that if you've got an opponent that's trying to get things out of their graveyard, like especially the same way we are, you can exile stuff out of their graveyard and they can't reuse it. I would also run 2 or 3 copies of something that's going to let you empty out the graveyards. What's the new one from Rivals? The Headstone?
The Gravestone.
Gravestone.
Yeah, you've posted it 100 times because
I
we've
know.
referenced it.
I don't
just
have it in
remember
front of
what
me.
it's called. Yeah. No worries.
Abandoned Gravestone, maybe? Whatever.
And on my phone.
I'll have it on the screen here. It makes it so that cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. So if you're running up against a Godfair's Gift or a Scarab God, I would take out the Journey to Eternity and put in those Headstone cards, whatever it is. You don't want, obviously,
Silent Gravestone.
Silent Gravestone. Thank you.
Well, I think it was.
You nailed it.
Hey, you know.
You don't want to have both of those in there, the Journey to Eternity and the Silent Gravestone, because one's going to counteract the other. You won't be able to use the Journey to Eternity when it flips. So maybe I'm not doing an actual sideboard here. I'm just kind of giving you some ideas for things that will help you out, depending on what your matchup is. I always, against heavy counter decks, if I've got a green mana source, I always like running the Prowling Serpapard.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily do anything for this deck, but it makes it so that you won't be able to have your creatures countered. So maybe run a couple copies of that. What are other big decks right now? Big decks.
Big decks.
He said big decks.
Something wrong with you.
Your red aggro decks. I think this, you may want to slap in some removal. You've got your Fatal Push and Walk the Plank you could put in against a red matchup just to kind of get some of those creatures off the board at the start of the game.
Yeah.
When they're really trying to, smack you in the face.
So minimize a couple of creatures and add some removal in there.
Yeah, get rid of some of that stuff. I don't know.
That's about it, really. I mean,
What else are big decks right now? I said big decks again.
well, they still running the energy.
Energy's kind of fallen off a little
They
bit,
removed all that crap.
but
Mardu vehicles still
Yeah.
pretty decent. It's one of those the new decks they put together
yeah.
in the store ones.
And
so.
if you get up against a Mardu vehicles or
You can think about doing naturalize.
something
That's
like that,
to get rid of
there's-
artifacts. It's going to be a pain since it's a green deck. If you're still running with the collars, that is.
Yeah,
Naturalize.
Naturalize is a good one. Gets rid of all those vehicles. You don't have to wait for them to be turned into creatures.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else in this color scheme that would work. I mean, obviously, if you felt the need to splash something.
Another nice thing about your Naturalize is it'll do both artifacts and enchantments. So I would definitely put a couple copies of that in there because you're going to run up against people that are using the Journey to Eternity or the
Hadana's Climb.
Hadana's Climb.
I like that one. Yeah.
That's that one. One of Edward's new favorite cards.
Shush.
The black-white one, I can't remember what it is, that lets them exile your creatures and then cast them and use them against you.
Yeah.
You're going to run into decks where people are using those enchantments, so rather than give them the opportunity to flip them, just destroy them outright. So Naturalize is good for that.
You want to run a game real quick? Just to test your deck?
Yeah, we can, after we get done with this video.
I was going to do it on the video just for fun. Either way, though.
Yeah, I think we're done. Thanks for watching. Let us know, as we say every week, but nobody ever says anything. Let us know
Ain't
what
done
you would
yet.
change, what we missed.
It's Thursday. We got a new card to choose.
We gotta pick a new card. I was getting ready to say bye and wave to everybody.
And Deuces out.
Don't say it! Don't say it!
Oh, undeuces. Undeuces.
Undeuces. Alright. We're not very good at this. We're just starting out. We can only say that for so long, and then people are just gonna think we're stupid.
We don't have to do deuces. It's just our thing.
No, I'm saying we can't keep messing up and saying that we're new.
Oh, yeah. This is true.
Alright, you guys know how this works. Here's my app. We're gonna punch it. We're gonna punch it. Punch it! Do it!
Where's the... I don't know. You know
Random card.
Okay, random card. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and...
Oh, please don't suck.
Vana's Hunger. Ooh, an instant. This would be a first. Right?
Vana's Hunger. Another Rivals of Ixalan card. Hold on, I wanna... Alright, remember Vana's Hunger.
Okay.
There's
See if you messed up the...
I want to make sure I've got the filters right, because this is
We're doing just Rivals
second
of
or third
Ixalan.
Rivals in a row. So let's go over it real quick. Vana's Hunger has Ascend. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. If you have the City's Blessing, Instead, each opponent sacrifices half the creatures he or she controls rounded up.
Well,
So I don't know how we're going to build a deck specifically around this card.
but we're going to use it in that deck, and we're going to use it as the best way we can.
Yeah, we're going to definitely try and take advantage of the Ascend ability.
I like a
getting the
token.
City's
I like a
Blessing.
token thing. That's probably the best way to do it because you know you can get it early.
Yeah,
and you can start
some tokens,
Yeah.
and then there's some other really good black Ascend creatures. We're not doing our brainstorming right now. Let me make sure I've got the filters right.
No type selected. Legendary.
Format,
No.
standard, okay. Rarity,
Mythic and rare.
yep. So it's set right. We're gonna go with it.
There's no specific set.
No specific set.
All right, Vaughn is Hunger. It is,
Honest
folks.
Hunger it is. We're true to our word.
All right, and you will have a brainstorm video on Monday.
Vana's Hunger. That's gonna suck. All right,
Hey, we got to challenge ourselves, man.
I know.
We had creatures, haven't we? Almost all of them been creatures.
yep, we're gonna do it.
So I mean, it's just part of the game. All right,
Thanks for watching.
deuces.
Deuces.